the International Energy Agency says the world needs to spend trillions of dollars more on new sources of clean energy, warning that the 2021 is set to see the second biggest increase in CO2 emissions ever. The intergovernmental body estimates that in order to combat climate change, spending on clean energy sources will need to reach $4 trillion a year by 2030. China, the world's biggest polluter, has promised to spend more on renewables, even though it continues to rely heavily on coal. The IEA also warned that the current plans to cut global carbon emission will fall 60% short of their 2050 net zero targets. The agency urged leaders to use the upcoming COP26 climate conference to send an unmistakable sign with concrete policy plans. Now let's bring in our Irish correspondent, LAPE OLARINOYE, as she's been taking a closer look at this report, and she joins us now for more from London. Now, LAPE, talk to me. What are the factors hindering the emission targets from being achieved?
Hi, good afternoon to you both. Well, Aaron, actually, we know that for a long time, only just in April, the nations that were going ahead for the COP26 pledged that the emissions will be decreasing by 60% in the next decade. But that's all changed now. And the main factors that are contributing towards this decline in the target achievement are particularly the increase of coal usage. A lot of the coal usage that we're seeing increasing at the moment is mainly coming from Asia. China plays a huge role in that, using about 4% of the world's coal usage. And even if we look deeper into the effect of coal, that contributes to the second largest carbon emissions in history. So you can imagine if a country like China is contributing that much, it will take the whole world a step back. And away from that, if we look at Europe and the UK in particular, there's a huge crisis to do with gas prices increasing because more and more people are now using and relying on gas and coal. So at the same time, the impact of coal on achieving those targets is also being affected by the increase of gas prices that we're witnessing in Europe at the moment.
LAPE, what are your thoughts on what the role the pandemic played in all of this?
Well, Howard, the role of the pandemic is a huge one, actually, because when we were in lockdown from about 2020 till earlier this year, there was a huge decline. I mean, a considerable decline in the number of emissions. The emissions went down by 4.5%. But now in a post-COVID economy where countries are trying to, regain their strength, major economies are trying to recover from the stagnation, there is no doubt that there will be an increase in coal usage, in gas usage, and the reliance on energy that we were supposedly moving away from. Because of that, we will see yet again another increase as people return back to normality, as people use energies that they were not using as much as before. I mean, even if you have a look at some really stark pictures of what the world looked like when everybody was in lockdown, everybody was at home, the climate was able to regain some of the emissions that we had caused and so on. So that is set to change once again because the world is going back to normality. So that is something that needs to be taken into consideration when the COP26 happens, how countries are going to plan to not affect the global economy as we return back to normality. And a part of that is to include regulation and legislation for organizations like the WHO and the IMF to put these restrictions back into law so that it allows for countries to restrict their energy usage and the reliance on it as well.
All right, LAPE, talk to us. The report focuses on the lack of investment by wealthier economies. How will this affect developing economies?
Well, currently developing economies are arguably not making as huge as an effort as other countries in the world. So ahead of the COP26, there is this kind of encouragement for developing countries to take the emissions usage more seriously and to look closely at their energy usage. And if developing countries can do that, it should be able to get the ball rolling. And of course, it can't just be, the onus can't just be on developing developing countries. Actually, it means that come COP26, which happens in Glasgow, the wealthier nations are able to see that effort and, of course, lead by example by wealthier nations, and attending that and speaking to investors, private investors particularly, to reach that target much quicker than expected.
I want to say thank you very much for this report. Thank you, LAPE OLARINOYE, Arise News correspondent.